everyone, Sherry here for Craft and Desert Divas. And this week we are going to be focusing on smiles across the miles. So I'm going to be making a card just to send to someone just because. You don't necessarily have to always have a specific holiday to send a card. So I thought I would make a card using the U stamp set. This was from the July release. And I'm going to put it in my MISTI, and I'm going to be stamping it down on a piece of watercolor paper. So I'm going to prep the paper first. I'm going to be using some Versamark ink, which is a clear sticky ink. I think my ink pad here is in great need of some re-inker. It took me several times to get a good impression, and of course the watercolor paper does have quite a bit of texture to it. So I just keep stamping and inking up my stamp until I feel like I have a good enough impression, and then I'm going to cover it with some white embossing powder. And there we go. So I'm going to cover the entire thing here with some white embossing powder. Make sure I got good coverage here. Shake off any excess. And then of course I'm heating up my heat tool ahead of time. This will minimize the warping on your paper when you are melting the embossing powder. So I'm going to make sure everything is smooth and melted. And now I'm dropping in some Nouveau Shimmer Powder. This is the Violet Brocade. You certainly do not want to squeeze these bottles. The powder will come out extremely fast. So just kind of tap the bottle and then use your water sprayer to wet the powders. I'm going to clean up my mess here, and I wanted my background to stay light in comparison to the actual stamp here. So I dabbed up the excess, and then I thought I would try to lighten it a little bit more by taking some clean water on a brush and dabbing again. However, once it's there, it's there. So you could certainly set this aside to dry on its own, or you can use your heat tool, as I'm doing here. I'm going to be die cutting this piece of watercolor paper, so I'm heating it both on the front and the back. Again, trying to minimize warping, and I want to make sure it is absolutely completely dry. I have used the Tag It die and cut that out kind of on an angle, and then I felt like I wanted a little bit more color behind the tag, so I'm just taking a scrap piece of Nina Solar White, and I'm using a Copic marker. This is the V09, and I am just going to completely cover that piece of paper, and I'm going to cut out a second tag to place behind the first one. I have also taken the Hello, which is from the Pocket Pieces Hello, and I have actually cut it out of some Nina Solar White 4 times. So I'm going to take all 4 of these dies, and I am going to stack them together. This is going to give me something kind of like a chipboard feel. I wanted it to be thick and hunky. So I'm just taking some little dabs of my Nouveau adhesive, and I am adhering all of them together, and then just making sure that I have them lined up. You can see there how thick that is. This will just give a little bit of extra dimension on the front of our card. Now I'm going to go cut out that purple tag. And then I am also going to cut out a butterfly. And the butterfly comes from the window pane die set. But first I'm going to use a couple of Copics to color my paper. I think this is the RV10, and then I'm going to also come in with the RV11 and darken that up a little bit. Now I'll go cut out the butterfly. He does have quite a few places on him that need to be poked out. I also cut out two extra ones out of just plain white cardstock so that I could stack those together as well. And I did end up stacking those a little offset. So I'm trying on my butterfly, and I'm not real thrilled with the color. I felt like I wanted to bring in more of the blues and the purple. So I'm going to use the BV000 here and add to his body. And then I believe I used the B quadruple 0 just around the edges of the wings, but that didn't give me enough color. So I'm going to bring in the B00 and brighten that up just a little bit. And then I'll come back in with the RV10 and kind of blend that a little bit. And then back in with the V marker to blend out that body again. And there's my little butterfly. So I'm just going to stack the tags on top of one another. I'm going to offset them using some Nouveau adhesive. And then I'm going to use some foam squares and pop those up on my card base, which is just a heavyweight white cardstock. Cut it 4 1/4 by 11 and scored it 5 1/2, so it's a top folding card. And get that placed down, and then my stacked hello. Again, I'm just using some small drops of Nouveau adhesive. Make sure that's lined up, and then I'm going to do my butterfly. And I actually, sorry I was off camera, I was bending his wings up a little bit. And there too, you can just barely tell where I offset the white butterflies underneath the colored butterflies. Just kind of gives it a little extra something. And then last but not least, I'm going to use some pale periwinkle jewel drops just to embellish my card. And one last one, just making sure I have an odd number right up there at that top left corner. And this is going to be it. Thank you so much for joining us here at Craftin' Desert Divas. Hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again soon. Bye now.